The bite that shouldn't have happened. Eli didn't mean to be in that part of the city. The sky was dark, glowing with the neon haze of broken signs, and the streets smelled like smoke and rust. He had taken a wrong turn after leaving the cargo, docks. His boots echoed down the alley as he passed an old warehouse, thinking about nothing more than getting home. Then he heard it. A strange sound. Not a shout, not a cry. More like a soft gasp, like someone trying to breathe but failing. Eli stopped. He turned his head slowly, scanning the shadows. A shape moved near a pile of old crates. It was small, curled up, trembling. At first, he thought it was just another scavenger or maybe a kid hiding. But when he stepped closer, he saw her. She wasn't human. Her skin shimmered like silver blue glass, cracked in some places. Her hair, or maybe it was some kind of soft fiber, floated, lightly even without wind. Her breathing was shallow, and her eyes, huge and glowing faintly violet, looked up at him with fear and pain. She tried to speak, but only managed a weak hiss. Then she collapsed. Eli didn't think. He rushed forward, kneeling beside her. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay? Can you hear me?" She didn't answer. Her body was ice cold. He reached out to lift her to help her stand. That was when she bit him. Her head snapped forward faster than he could react. Sharp fangs sank deep into the side of his hand. He yelled, pulling back, but she didn't hold on. The bite was quick, one strike, and then she fell completely limp in his arms. Eli staggered back, clutching his hand. Blood dripped between his fingers, but the pain wasn't sharp. It was warm, strange. His skin burned, but not in a bad way. His heart pounded, and for a moment his vision blurred. He sat down against the wall, breathing hard. When he looked again, the alien girl was gone. Later that night, Eli sat in his tiny apartment, hand wrapped in a towel. The wound had already stopped bleeding. In fact, it was nearly gone. Just a red mark remained. But something was wrong. His skin itched all over. Not like a normal itch, more like a buzz, like his nerves were waking up for the first time. When he touched anything, even his blanket, it felt too sharp, too soft, too much. He stood under the shower for an hour, hoping it would calm him down, but it didn't help. And when he closed his eyes, he saw her. Her face, her violet eyes. The feeling of her skin under his hands. Why couldn't he stop thinking about her? The next day, Eli tried to act normal. He walked the same route to work, nodded to the same guards, loaded the same cargo. But everything felt different. Every sound was louder. Every touch, every brush of wind against his skin sent a shiver down his spine. He bumped into someone by accident, a woman passing him on the walkway, and the moment their shoulders touched, a powerful shock rushed through his body. He gasped, stumbling back. The woman gave him a strange look and walked away quickly. His hands trembled. He didn't understand what was happening. All he knew was that since the bite, something had changed inside him. Something deep. Something wild. That night he couldn't sleep. His body felt hot and cold at the same time. His muscles twitched and his chest ached with a pressure he couldn't explain. It was like a hunger, but not for food. Like his body was searching for something it had lost. Someone. He stood at the window, looking out at the glowing city. His reflection stared back at him, eyes darker than usual. He didn't feel like himself anymore, and deep down he knew he had to find her, whoever she was, whatever she did to him. He needed answers, and maybe he needed her. The craving begins, Ellie. Didn't sleep. He couldn't. Each time he closed his eyes, her face returned, the alien girl with glowing violet eyes. The bite on his hand was nearly gone, but the feeling it left behind was worse than any wound. It was like something inside him had woken up, something that wouldn't go back to sleep. He paced the floor of his apartment, touching the wall, the edge of the table, the cold window. Every surface felt electric. Textures he had touched 1,000 times before now seemed to reach back into him. Even the air brushing across his skin made him shiver. But nothing helped. The craving was growing. Not for food, not for water, for her. Eli decided he couldn't wait anymore. He needed answers. He called in sick and returned to the alley where he first saw her. Morning sunlight filtered through the city towers, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. Nothing looked different. The crates were still there. The blood was gone. No signs of her. But Eli stood still. Something told him she had been here again, like a scent in the air, a memory carved into the stone. He walked slowly, scanning every corner. That's when he noticed a small, broken device tucked under a pipe. It looked like a bracelet, but with alien markings and tiny blinking lights. He picked it up, and instantly a sharp flash filled his head. A voice. Not words. Feelings. Pain. Fear. Guilt. And him. The image of himself holding her flashed inside his mind, so clear it felt like he was reliving it. She had been watching him, even after she fled. Eli didn't know how, but the bite had connected them. Not just physically, mentally, maybe emotionally too. And now, it was pulling them back together. Later that day, Eli sat in a crowded train, on the edge of the city. He hadn't planned on riding so far, but his body moved on instinct. It felt like invisible strings were guiding him, drawing him toward her. Every vibration of the train, every bump of shoulders with strangers made his nerves jump. Suddenly, the person next to him brushed against his arm, and he gasped. Not from pain, from pleasure. His eyes widened. It felt like lightning danced under his skin, as if that simple touch set off a fire he couldn't control. He pulled away, shaking, breathing fast. People stared. He stood up and ran off the train at the next stop. This wasn't normal. This wasn't human. Eli wandered into the outer zones of the city, places full of dust, half-built towers, and machines long shut down. Nobody came here unless they had to. But his body kept moving. His hands twitched. His skin begged for contact, but not from anyone. Only her. As the sun dropped below the horizon, the hunger became unbearable. And that's when he saw her. Standing, alone, leaning against a pillar of broken steel. Her skin glowed faintly under the dying light. Her violet eyes met his, and for a moment, everything stopped. He couldn't breathe. His heart froze. He took a step forward, and collapsed. When Eli woke up, he was lying on a soft surface. Maybe grass, maybe something alien. The air smelled sweet, like her. She was sitting beside him, her eyes heavy with emotion. "Why did you come?" she asked, her voice soft and strange, like it was shaped from echoes. "You bit me," Eli whispered, "and now I can't stop feeling everything." She looked away, ashamed. "I didn't mean to. I was dying. The bite, it was instinct." "You changed me," he said, trying to sit up. "I feel like I'm falling apart when you're not near." Her eyes filled with something like sorrow. "That's because the bond is real." "What bond?" She paused, then spoke the words that would change his life forever. "You are linked to me now, my kind. We don't just bite. We mark. And when we mark someone, we belong to each other. Until death." Eli stared at her, the weight of her words crashing into him. "So this isn't going to go away?" "No," she said quietly. "And if we stay apart too long, it will kill you." Suddenly something exploded nearby. A bright flash lit up the sky, followed by a deep, shaking boom. She stood up fast. "They've found me," she whispered. "Who?" "My people. They're not coming to save me. They're coming to end me." Eli tried to stand, but his legs were weak. The craving was still there, but now it was mixed with fear. Not just for himself, but for her. He looked into her eyes and said the one thing he never thought he would say to an alien girl he met in a dirty alley. "I'm not leaving you." She stared at him, then took his hand. For a second, everything felt right, and then Everything went dark again. Linked by blood, hunted by fate, the night was full of fire. Eli opened his eyes to smoke and red flashes lighting up the sky. Metal drones flew overhead, scanning the ruins below with sharp lights and low hums. He and the alien girl, Lyra, were lying low inside an old maintenance tunnel, hiding behind collapsed beams and dust-covered crates. His hand was still in hers. He didn't know how long he'd been unconscious, but now that he was awake, the craving hit him like a storm again. It wasn't just about touch anymore, it was deeper. Her presence kept his body from tearing itself apart. Her touch stopped the noise in his head. She wasn't a cure, she was the balance. "They're closing in," Lyra whispered, watching the drones above. "They've locked onto my biosignature." Eli blinked through the dust. "Your people? Why are they trying to kill you?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stood, staring up at the glowing sky, then said, "Because I broke a sacred law." While they moved quietly through the tunnels, Lyra explained everything. Her species was once part of the Galactic Council, intelligent, powerful, known for their telepathic abilities and long lives. But they also carried a deep biological secret, a defense system hidden in their bloodline, the bite. It was an ancient instinct. In moments of fear or death, they could release a venom from their fangs that bonded them to another living being. The bond created a link, sharing emotion, sensation, even energy. But such a bond was only meant for their own kind. To use it on a human, that was forbidden. "Why?" Eli asked, his voice low as they crawled through a ventilation shaft. "Because humans are unstable," she replied, emotional, wild. They fear what they can't control. And the bond, it's permanent. Eli looked at her confused. "But I didn't choose this." She met his eyes. "Neither did I." A silence fell between them. Outside the shaft, footsteps echoed. Not drones this time. Soldiers. Real ones. They wore armor that pulsed with energy, and their weapons glowed blue in the dark. "We can't outrun them," Eli said. "I know," Lyra replied. "That's why we hide in plain sight." They reached an abandoned station buried under the city. Here, Lyra used her stolen tech to mask their presence. It wouldn't last forever, but it would buy them time. Eli collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. His skin burned, his muscles twitched. "It's getting worse," he said. "I feel like my insides are trying to crawl out." She knelt beside him, gently placing her hand on his cheek. Instantly, the pain faded. His heart slowed. His body relaxed. "You see?" she whispered. "We're connected now. The more time we spend apart, the more your body breaks." The bond was designed for survival, not distance. He stared into her eyes. "Then I guess we stay together." She looked away. "If we stay together, they will kill us both. Then we run." She shook her head. "There's no escape from my clan. They are called the Oathborn. Once a bond is marked as illegal, they will hunt until it is erased." "How do they erase it?" Lyra's voice became cold. "By killing the bonded pair." Eli didn't speak. After that, they sat in silence, hidden beneath the broken world above. He felt her thoughts sometimes, flashes of memory. She once had a sister, a friend, a home with glass towers and starlight gardens. She gave it all up the moment she bit him. He hadn't just changed, he had ruined her life. But she never blamed him, and that's what scared him most. Later, while she slept, Eli stepped outside the station entrance. The sky was quiet now, but his body was not. He felt a strange tug in his chest, pulling him toward something. He followed it. Only a few steps out, he was surrounded. A group of Oathborn soldiers dropped from above like shadows. Cloaked in black and silver, their eyes glowed faint purple. Just like Lyra's, but colder. No warmth, no kindness. "Human," one of them said. "You carry the mark." Eli didn't move. "Give her to us," the soldier said, "and we will let you die cleanly." Eli stared at them, heart pounding. He wanted to scream. to run. But then behind him, he heard Lyra's voice. "He's mine. You'll have to go through me." She stood beside him, her hair glowing, her skin pulsing with strange light. "Then so be it," the soldier said. They attacked. What happened next? Eli didn't fully understand. As the soldiers rushed forward, Lyra touched his shoulder, and the bond between them exploded into energy. A pulse of power erupted from them both, knocking two attackers off their feet. Lyra moved like lightning, faster than any human eye could follow. Her claws cut through armor. Her steps silent and sure. But even with her strength, they were outnumbered. Eli grabbed a metal pipe and fought back, his body moving with instinct he didn't know he had. The bond gave him strength. Her strength. They fought together, breath to breath, movement to movement, and when the last soldier fell, they collapsed in each other's arms, breathing heavy, shaking, alive. "We can't run forever," Lyra said, through tears. "Then we fight," Eli whispered, and the bond between them burned brighter than ever. Running on a dying planet, the ship barely held together. Eli sat in the back, pressed against the cold metal wall as the transport shook violently. The stolen Oathborn vessel they had used to escape Earth's orbit groaned with every turn through the void. Sparks fell from the ceiling as Lyra fought to keep the controls stable. She didn't speak. Her jaw was tight, eyes locked on the stars ahead. She was scared, and Eli knew why. They weren't just running from soldiers now. They were running from the end of their lives. "Where are we going?" Eli asked over the roar of the engines. Dead world," Lyra replied. "A planet no one touches anymore, no colonies, no drones, no eyes. It's the only place they won't think to look." "Why is it dead?" She hesitated. "Because it killed everything that landed on it." 3 hours later, they landed on a world that didn't look dead at all. It was beautiful, burning skies like melted gold, broken mountains that reached toward the stars, oceans frozen mid-wave as if time itself had cracked. Giant trees, leafless and black, stood like bones across the plains. But Eli felt it the moment they stepped outside. This place wasn't peaceful. It was waiting. The air was heavy, not like gravity, more like pressure. Like 1,000 unseen eyes were watching them. "I don't like it here," he whispered. "Neither do I," Lyra said. "But this planet holds something no other place does." "What's that?" "Answers." They set up shelter inside a broken alien facility, hidden beneath the surface. It looked ancient, older than either of them could guess. The walls were made of dark stone and strange metal. Symbols glowed faintly across every surface. "What is this place?" Eli asked. Lyra traced her fingers across the walls. "A sanctuary. Before my people became Oathborn, they came here to bond, in secret, away from rules, away from laws." Eli's heart beat faster. "So there were others? Like us?" She nodded. "Once." "What happened to them?" She didn't answer, not with words. She showed him. She placed her hand on his chest and his vision exploded. He saw flashes of lovers hiding in caves, bonded pairs sharing dreams, alien and human together, holding hands in the light of two suns, then soldiers marching, fire falling from the sky, screams swallowed by silence. The sanctuary had been wiped out. "They erased them," Eli whispered. "And they will erase us too," Lyra said, pulling her hand away, "unless we finish what they started." For days they stayed in the ruins. The bond between them grew stronger. Eli no longer felt pain when away from her, but the craving was still there, gentler but always present. They could now hear each other's thoughts, sense each other's emotions. He felt her guilt. She felt his confusion. They slept close, not out of desire, out of survival, and somewhere in the middle of it all, they began to feel something else. Something that didn't come from the bond. Something real. On the fourth day, the ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Strange lights flickered in the walls. Then, A voice. Not through speakers, not through air, directly into their minds. You carry the mark. Eli stood up, looking around. Who's there? You seek the bond's truth. Step forward. A hidden door opened at the far end of the hall. Without speaking, they entered. The room was round with a glowing pool at the center. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Lyra stepped forward first. This is it, she said. This is where the first pair completed the bond, not as a curse, but as a choice. Eli looked into the pool. His reflection stared back, eyes glowing faintly, skin marked with lines he hadn't noticed before. The bond was changing him, rewriting him. Can we finish it? He asked. Yes, Lyra said. But once we do, there's no going back. Eli didn't move. He thought of Earth, of the Oathborn, of the endless running, the danger, the fear. But he also thought of her touch, her voice, the way her presence silenced everything else inside him. I want this, he said. Lyra smiled softly. Then step in with me. They stepped into the pool together. Instantly the world disappeared. They stood in a place with no walls, no ceiling, only light. They saw each other not as bodies, but as energy. Emotions flowed between them, fear, joy, sorrow, hope, and something else, love. The bond wasn't a chain, it was a bridge, a choice. When they opened their eyes again, the pool was quiet. And outside, the sanctuary, trouble waited. The planet had been found. Drones swarmed the skies. Oathborn ships circled above. They're here, Lyra whispered. Eli looked at her, feeling no fear now. Then let them come, he said. We're not running anymore. And for the first time since the bite, he didn't feel like a victim. He felt like something else entirely, chosen. She touched him to save him, but now she's fading. The sanctuary was no longer silent. Above ground, the skies screamed with fire. Oathborn ships circled like predators, their engines humming with purpose. Waves of drones descended through the clouds, scanning every crack and shadow of the dying planet. But beneath the surface, in the heart of the ancient ruins, something even more dangerous was happening. Lyra was collapsing. Eli held her in his arms, panic rising in his throat. Her body was warm, too warm. Her skin, once glowing with soft blue light, now flickered like a broken star. Her breath came in short gasps, her eyes unfocused. Lyra, what's happening? He whispered. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. The bond was still there. He could feel it pulsing weakly between them like a frayed thread. But something was wrong. The strength she had once passed to him, it wasn't flowing anymore. She was giving too much. And now, it was breaking her. Eli carried her back into the central chamber, laying her gently beside the glowing pool. He paced the room, his thoughts spinning. They had completed the bond. They had chosen each other, but no one told him what came after. He pressed his hands to the ancient walls, hoping for answers. Help me, he whispered. Please. Nothing. No voice. No light. Just silence. Suddenly, he felt a sharp stab of pain in his chest. He staggered, falling to his knees. But it wasn't his pain. It was hers. Through the bond, he saw flashes, Lyra's memories. Her people once believed the bond was sacred. When done by choice, it became a cycle. One gave life, the other returned it. A perfect balance. But if one half loved more, gave more, suffered more, the balance broke, and the one who gave too much began to fade. Eli's hands trembled. This wasn't a sickness. It was love. Lyra had been giving him everything, her energy, her strength, even her life. Not because she had to, because she wanted to, because she had fallen for him. And now it was killing her. He crawled to her side and held her face gently in his hands. You have to stop, he whispered. You're giving too much. Her eyes fluttered open. Her voice was barely there. I can't let you die. Then we'll die together, he said, tears filling his eyes. But I won't watch you fade. The bond between them flickered. Eli felt it. A moment of clarity. The answer wasn't in taking. It was in sharing. He remembered the pool. Not just a place to bond, but a place to merge. He carried Lyra back into the glowing water. As he stepped in, energy rushed around him like a storm. He let go. Not of her. Of himself. He opened the bond fully, giving her his thoughts, his feelings, his fears, and most of all, his strength. The connection burned. His body shook. He felt her pain flow into him, and he didn't resist. He took it. He embraced it. Because that's what love was. Not just receiving, giving everything. The light surrounded them. For a second, they floated. Not in water, not in space, but in something deeper. Then slowly her breathing calmed. Her skin glowed steady again. Her heart beat with his. Equal, balanced, alive. They came out of the pool holding hands, stronger than before. But the moment they stepped out, a voice echoed through the ruins. Enough. A figure stood at the edge of the chamber. Tall, armored, powerful, an oath-born commander. Not a drone, not a soldier. The one who gave the order to hunt her. You completed the bond, he said coldly. You've tainted your bloodline. Eli stood in front of Lyra. We didn't taint it, we saved it. The commander raised his weapon, then die with honor. He fired, but the blast never reached them. The pool behind them exploded with light, forming a shield. A voice older than time spoke once more. The bond is now whole. You cannot break what was chosen freely. The commander fell back, blinded. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes blazing. We are not broken, she said. We are reborn. The chamber trembled, and for the first time in years, the dying planet pulsed with new life. Above, the skies cracked open. Ships malfunctioned. Drones fell. Something ancient had awakened. Not a weapon. A will. The planet had chosen, and it had chosen them. The cure hidden in touch, the planet was changing. From deep below its surface, a sound like breathing echoed through the ruins. Not mechanical, not natural. Something alive. Something ancient had stirred. Eli stood in silence as the walls of the sanctuary began to glow, not just with light but with memories. Images danced across the stone, beings from different worlds, alien, human, others he couldn't name, bonding, touching, sharing. This wasn't just a hiding place. It was a heart, and it was beating again. Lyra stood beside him, still weak but stable. The bond between them no longer flickered. It pulsed steady, calm, like a shared heartbeat. For the first time since the bite, there was no pain, no craving, no hunger, just peace. But it didn't last. Look, she said, pointing toward the wall. One of the glowing images began to dim, faster than the others. The lights faded until only a single mark remained, one that matched the scar on Eli's hand. It's a warning, she whispered. What does it mean? Eli asked. She placed her hand over the mark, and the sanctuary spoke. Not with words, with visions. They saw a world where bonds like theirs once healed entire civilizations. Wounded minds, broken bodies, even dying species, restored through the exchange of energy, trust, and feeling. But then came a time when one species used the bond as a weapon, forcing others to connect, stealing strength, controlling emotions. The balance was destroyed, trust was lost, so the ancient ones locked the sanctuary, erased the knowledge, and sealed the cure. But it wasn't gone. It was hidden, in touch, not simple contact, true, willing, mutual connection. So that's why I changed, Eli said softly. It wasn't just the bite, it was you, what you gave, how you touched me. Lyra nodded. The bond isn't about blood, it's about choice. And that's why they fear it, Eli said, because no one can control it. Above them, The planet screamed again, this time in pain. They rushed outside the sanctuary and looked up. Oathborn cruisers had returned, larger than before. Their beams struck the ground like fire from the stars, trying to crack the heart of the world open. "They're trying to destroy the planet," Lyra said, horrified. "They know it's protecting us," Eli replied. "They want to wipe it clean." A sharp pain sliced through his spine. Not from an injury, from the bond. He turned to Lyra and saw her fall to one knee, clutching her chest. "It's the commander," she said, gasping. "He's using something made to break the link." "How?" She looked up with fear in her eyes. "They made a weapon. For people like us." Eli helped her back inside. The sanctuary was trembling now. The pool of light flickered. The walls cracked. Even the air was growing thinner. "We need to finish it," he said. "Finish what?" she asked. "The cure," Eli replied. "The one they tried to erase. The bond that heals, not hurts. But it's hidden," Lyra said. "We don't know where." Eli looked at her, his voice steady. "I think we do." He took her hand and led her to the center of the sanctuary. There, they knelt together. Not in ritual, in honesty. Eli closed his eyes and let the bond open completely. No fear, no filter. He gave her everything. His memories, his scars, his doubts, his love. Not with force, with trust. And she did the same. From both sides, the bond lit up. Not like before. This time, it filled the entire chamber. Walls shimmered. Symbols rose from the floor, spinning around them. Then the pool exploded into color, and from it rose a figure made of light. It looked like no single species. Just energy and form. It spoke inside their minds. "You have given, not taken. You have healed, not consumed. And so the cure is yours." The light entered them both. Eli felt it. The cure wasn't medicine. It was understanding. Harmony. Shared purpose. It balanced their bodies, strengthened their bond, but also made them whole without needing to touch every second. They could survive apart now, but more importantly, they could survive together. Then the light faded, and the ceiling shattered. The commander dropped into the chamber with a squad of armored Oathborn. He aimed his blade at Lyra. "You poisoned our bloodline," he growled. Eli stepped between them. "No, we saved it." The commander lunged and Eli didn't move. Instead, the planet did. From the broken walls, ancient vines burst forth, alive, glowing, pulsing with power. They wrapped around the Oathborn, lifting them into the air. The planet had made its choice, and it would protect what it had healed. As the enemies were pulled into the light, the sanctuary sealed once more. Eli and Lyra stood together, hands still joined. "It's over," she whispered. He looked at her, smiling. "No," he said softly. "It's just beginning." Bound forever, or lost forever, the sanctuary was silent again. But it wasn't the silence of death. It was the stillness of something complete. Eli stood in the center of the chamber, his hand still wrapped around Lyra's. The light from the pool had faded, and the walls no longer glowed. The bond between them didn't buzz like fire anymore. It hummed softly, like a quiet breath shared between two souls. They had done it. But peace, as always, was short. A tremor ran through the ground. Not just the ruins, the entire planet. Eli looked up, his heart tightening. Above them, cracks opened in the ceiling, and through them came light. Not sunlight, but weapon fire. Oathborn fleets hadn't left. They had returned in greater numbers, and this time, they weren't here to hunt. They were here to erase. The planet had revealed its power. The bond had survived. And now the Oathborn command feared the one thing they could never control, freedom through connection. "They're going to destroy the core," Lyra whispered, stepping beside him. "If they reach it, this world dies. And the cure dies with it." "We can't let that happen," Eli said. Even if it means we don't make it," Lyra finished, her eyes steady. He nodded once. Then let's finish what we started. They raced through the collapsing ruins, following the heartbeat of the bond itself. It guided them deeper than they had ever gone, through tunnels of living stone and rivers of light, until they reached a chamber unlike the rest. It wasn't a room. It was a core, a heart. Floating at the center, held by glowing vines, was an orb the size of a house, pulsing, alive, connected to every living memory the sanctuary had ever held, but standing before it was the oath-born commander, alone, waiting. "You should have run," he said. Eli stepped forward. "You lost. We found the cure." "You found nothing but a curse," the commander growled. "You think love is stronger than law, than order? You are a virus, both of you, and I will end you before you infect the galaxy." He raised a blade charged with null energy, the kind that cut through bone, metal, and memory. Eli raised his fists, but the commander didn't strike. He turned to the core and plunged the blade into its side. The world screamed. The bond between Eli and Lyra snapped like a wire stretched too tight. Both of them dropped to the ground, breath stolen, hearts nearly stopping. The vines turned black. The chamber dimmed. The cure was dying, and the commander smiled. "You wanted to save this place," he said coldly. "Now it dies with you." He turned to leave, but a voice stopped him. "No." Lyra stood up, her body glowing brighter than before. "Not just with bond light, with core light. You don't get to decide how this ends," she said. She stepped to the broken core and placed her hand on the wound. Energy burst out. Not just from the core, from her, from Eli, from the bond. Eli joined her, hand over hers. Their connection reignited, not just between them, but into the heart of the world. The cure flowed again, stronger, purer. The bond wasn't just between two. It was now part of everything. The vines pulsed again. The core healed. The planet woke up fully. And the commander? He was swallowed by the light, not burned, erased, not as punishment, but as correction. When it was over, Eli and Lyra fell to their knees, holding on to each other, breathless and trembling, but alive. The sanctuary glowed warm, now not dangerous. Welcoming. The planet had accepted them. The bond had evolved. It no longer required pain or sacrifice. It only needed truth. Days passed. A signal went out, not a warning, a message of peace. Aliens from nearby systems arrived slowly, carefully. They listened to Eli and Lyra. They felt the new energy in the planet. Some were afraid, but some understood. And one by one, others began to bond again. Not by blood, not by bite, by choice. Eli stood by the pool, watching the sanctuary grow with new light each day. Lyra walked up beside him. "You ever think," she said softly, "that one bite would lead to all this?" He laughed gently. "No. I thought you were going to kill me." "I almost did," she teased, smiling. He turned to her, touching her hand. Not because the bond demanded it, but because he wanted to. "We're free now," he said. "Yes," she whispered, "but we're also bound." He nodded. "Bound. Forever?" She leaned closer. "Only if we choose it," and he did, so did she, together forever.